Well, Democrats are already acting like the midterms are in the bag, taking a victory lap months before a single vote is cast. Just listen to James Carville.
I'm going to tell you something. You're getting ready to get the living crap kicked out of you. You don't know because they haven't really told you. You're going to sit there and wonder what it feels like to be punched in the mouth by Mike Tyson. And that's what's going to happen to you in November. I got news for you, dude. You're done, and we're going to enjoy watching your downfall.
But Carville might want to slow his roll after his Kamala prediction. The new poll showing that 74% of voters, including a majority of Democrats, think the party doesn't have the right priorities. But the party's leaders are insisting that everything is A-OK.
The bottom line is our caucus and our party is strong and united, and we are fighting very hard.
The American people are rejecting Republican extremism and embracing the fact that Democrats are authentically making clear that we're going to work as hard as we can to make life better for the American people.
Just not the American people that have an R in front of their names. All right, but not all Democrats are ignoring the party's glaring issues. 2028 hopeful Rahm Emanuel calling out the left for losing sight of what voters care about.
You are worried about bathroom access and locker room access. Why don't you focus on classroom excellence? You have 50% of our kids not reading at grade level. We lost the plot. We as Democrats nationally, from Latinx to defunding the police to police organizations are all racist to bringing a set of cultural wars to our schools. We are on the losing side of those cultural wars. Full stop.
Kaylee, you and I love talking about Rahm Emanuel, and he is now repeating himself with this in a good way, where he's staying firm, saying the party has lost its values and directions, and talking about the wasted time and the distraction that those issues have been for his party.
No doubt. I mean, when you find yourself on the losing side of a myriad 80-20 issues, and you look and you're like, I'm in the 20%. You don't double down on the 20%. You migrate over to the 80%. And very few Democrats have done that. Axios asked 20 Democrats about transgender issues. Only 3 answered. 2 pointed back to like non-serious talking points. And only Rahm Emanuel answered very clearly the issue. We saw Gavin Newsom act reasonable about this and then backpedal. Democrats are on the wrong side. Look, it's still challenging for Republicans in the midterms. They're up against history. The party in the White House typically does lose seats, so it's an uphill battle. But James Carville, as hot he sounded there, he obviously has a beef with the president on this issue of transgenderism. He has been very clear. I mean, I asked him outright, can a man become a woman? He said he's 81 years old. He's never taken birth control. So perhaps at least on that issue, I would never advise Democrats to follow his language with regard to President Trump. But on trans issues, you might want to take a cue from Rahm or from James.
And interestingly, Tyrus, it seems that as soon as you put a Dem in front of the camera, they say everything's unified. But there's a lot of fraction behind the scenes. We've seen this during a lot of these elections and the primaries coming up. And what they say about each other seems to be a little vicious, in addition to what they certainly say about Republicans and Trump.
I got to Carville, my
serious
sexy little chameleon. If you watch the whole thing of that, first of all, that entire rant was brought to you by Jack Daniels. He had a couple, I think, and decided to tell it how it was. But he forgets. He literally said with his, well, I don't know if his face is straight because he's got that Gollum look kind of going on, but whatever's left of the soggy mess that used to be a skull that had a brain in it, he literally said, President, you're not going to be ready for this because we're coming after you. I'm sorry. When are they not? Like he from the time he stepped on the escalator, they've been after him in 17 impeachments, all these Trump fake cases, all the time, assassination attempts. They're like, they don't condone, they go in favor of it. So at what point do you think the president is going to get caught slipping? He even went on to say, which was probably my favorite part, was that it was going to be like getting punched in the face by Mike Tyson. Again, poor choice of words because Mike Tyson voted for President Trump. And so I don't think he was going to punch him. I think he's going to hug him. You, on the other hand, with that type of verbiage, you might want to duck with what's left of that soggy bone of bitterness that it is you and the Democratic Party.
His precious is the Jack Daniels. All right, so brass tacks with a detective from New York, Paul, because I don't think that Republicans can really sleep easily. I think that there might be a grain of truth, however, with what Carville is warning us about, because there's certainly a lot of fracture in our party, too. What do you think the GOP's vulnerabilities are moving into the midterms? Because there needs to be a cohesion for them to maintain the lead.
Well, first of all, obviously, as Kayleigh points out, you're fighting against history, okay? In the midterms, almost always, whoever won the first time around, you're trying to hold the House, trying to hold the Senate. Chances are they'll hold the Senate, and sometimes you'll take half a loaf. The thing I think that's so significant here that we should be focusing on is when we hear incessantly polls talking about how buried the GOP is and how there's just absolutely no shot for them, the secret weapon for the GOP is the Democrats. Because then you look at the numbers like we just got and you say, my God, they're in worse shape than even we are. And I am saying we because it's no secret that that's how I'm going to vote. Now, the thing is, I have to make this point. I made it earlier on the other show. This is the dissatisfaction with the Dems. The received wisdom is that, okay, those are moderate Dems who don't like the fact that the party is drifting so far left. They don't want to be embroiled in the DEI, in the border, all of this other stuff. We lost, as Rahm Emanuel said, we've lost the plot, and we've gone way too far left. I think what's being missed here is that the dissatisfaction is coming from the left. And that's why when you see these people interviewed, they're all ducking the question, because they're terrified of being characterized as not on board with where the energy is. The small donors, the ambition, the energy are the young AOC, the squad. Ironically, they're led by the OG socialist, which is, obviously Bernie Sanders, who's older than all of them put together. But bottom line is, that is where the party is really devolved to. That's where the party's base is. And so when you see dissatisfaction, the read is wrong, I think, by Emanuel and even Carville, who needs to, by the way, take a nap, do something, double your meds, bro. I mean, he's taking it way too personally. And actually, that's a tell, because he's acting like, you know what, this is an affront to me. And by the way, not for nothing, guy, if you're going to telegraph that you're going after Donald Trump, didn't you learn something the first time? Because that's what undermines the cases. In fact, it gives legally, but also in terms of public opinion, a great talking point for Donald Trump, which is all they want to do is get me. And as he says online, look, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. So the Dems are in disarray here. But again, history's against the GOP. And you know what? You can't count on that. So, you lose one of the houses, you lose one of the houses.
While you were saying that real quick, you keep talking about 2080, but they are in the 20, and then in the 20%, they're 100%. They live in a bubble. Right. So they're 20, their echo chamber is 100%. Mm-hmm. That's why they're on the wrong side of 80s and 20s, because they're the 20s.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of the primaries and races of note, especially coming up in the midterms, the sort of defining feature will be the independents. Yep. Right? And so for them, the primary... Look, a lot of people say, well, disregard the polls, but poll after poll shows that their primary issue is the economy. Yep. And over again, the GOP and President Trump is what is blowing out the Democrats in favorability on the economy.
Historically, perhaps. I mean, currently right now, you nailed it. Over half of millennials and Gen Z are independent. They look at both parties and they say, I'm not fully, such as myself, I'm included in that, independent, don't fully align myself with either one of you. And I think it's very frustrating when you look at both and you see the things that they're arguing about. When you see James Carville talking about, well, we're going to get in charge and we're going to put all of Trump's people and, we're just like, hey, I'd like to own a home. I'd like to own a home. None of us own homes. And it is tough because it does feel like there isn't really any more focus on that. I think that the Democrat solution is socialism, by larger and larger. A lot of their most popular politicians, be it AOC or be it Mamdani, are the ones saying, hey, yeah, no, I got it. It's full government control. That's a solution. But then a lot of times when it comes to the affordability crisis, the GOP can just say, well, you know what? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't buy avocado toast, don't get too much coffee, when really the numbers show that, the number one predictor of home ownership for a millennial is not how hard you work, it is how much money your parents have. So I think that the GOP could have a huge win here if they would refocus on the economy, because I think right now you're being asked to make sacrifices. Gas is expensive. Okay, there are some people who are straight up saying, all right, we'll deal with it. And I don't think that's good messaging going into this for the GOP. It is going to depend on what independents want to do. There is a lot of time before midterms. There's a lot of time for things to change. But you're absolutely right, Emily. For independent voters, I mean, for myself, particularly, neither major party, I don't think is ever going to do what I really want them to do, which is just to leave me alone and let me live my life and for myself and let other people kind of do the same. But refocusing on the economy, that's absolutely the way to go, I think, for the GOP. Getting back to some of that smaller government would be a huge win, and affordability. Yeah.
It never gets smaller, either party.
It never does.
Either
but
party.
You can't blame a girl for dreaming.
Elon tried.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.